We're live. Thanks very much for the general public and who are tuning in and will be tuning in later on to um, follow up on our 24th edition of the Belize Affairs show for August 11th of 2023. I'm happy to have Mr. Roody Wade as my co-host for tonight. And we also had Gregory, but he had to leave for a second. He'll be coming back on as soon as he resolves what he's trying to work on. And in the interim, we're going to move on with the program. So my name is Leonard Brackett, and I'm one of the panelist members on this particular show. And tonight I'm going to be the chairman. And since it's Friday, everybody's supposed to remember that Fridays are reserved for constitutional and legal and law or case matters. And we'll be hitting on some of those tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in again. And Mr. Wade.
Pleasant good night to you, Leonard. Glad to be in your company. And like you says, we are with Leonard. I'm Greg to tune back in. And a pleasant good night to our viewers and listeners, both at home and abroad. May God continue to bless them, guide them, and protect them. As usual, we start our show with a word. So I was on Proverbs. So I continue on Proverbs chapter 11, 1 to 10. Says, a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight.
Amen.
When pride comes, then comes disgrace. But with the humble is wisdom. The integrity of the upright guides them, but the crookedness of the treacherous destroy them. Riches do not profit in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivers from death. The righteousness of the blameless keeps his way straight, but the wicked falls by his own wickedness. The righteousness of the upright delivers them, but the treacherous are taken captive by their loss. When the wicked dies, his hope will perish. But when the wicked dies, his hope will perish, and the expectation of wealth perishes too. The righteous is delivered from trouble, and the wicked walks into it instead. With his mouth with his mouth, the godless man would destroy his neighbor. But by knowledge, the righteous are delivered. When it goes well with the righteous, the city rejoices. And when the wicked perish, there is shout of gladness. That's my reading for tonight from Proverbs 1 to 10. And again, I want to, give thanks and praise to the Almighty, for giving us the opportunity, giving us wisdom, giving us the understanding and the courage to bring to the nation and the world, through our platform, Belizean Affairs. May he guide us and protect us through our ventures, right? Again, tomorrow is promised to no one. So we must always give thanks and praise to the Almighty for the day and breath that he gives you every time. And for those who did not make it today, I pray that, their loved ones, get some closure. And I pray that their souls continue to rest in peace. And to our loved ones that we miss so dearly that departed from us, may their souls continue to rest in eternal peace. And that's my word for tonight. Back to you,
Amen.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wade. Tonight show will be about the Belize Constitution, and more specifically, it will be about the Belize Constitution Reform Commission, which is now under a different name, People's Constitution
Committee.
The People's
Committee.
Constitution Commission.
Commission, yeah.
Yeah. PCC.
Yeah.
There was no need for this committee to have been established, and by now I think most people should be able to recognize that as a reality. The fact is, we are where we are. It was established. What happened now is that they wasted 8 months dancing around in circles, and now are going to spend 4 months to start doing what they call an education campaign. I listened to some of what was presented with the educational campaign, and they have a learned gentleman by the name of Mr. Osher, who was a former magistrate, I think for about 15 years, if I'm not mistaken, who also is someone who studied law, and who is teaching law in some of our colleges back home in Belize, as a matter of fact. So they gave him the opportunity to become the teacher in this effort now to educate the Belizean people on the Constitution. The first thing the gentleman is going to start educating the Belizean people on is the preamble and their inalienable rights, which the Constitution bestowed upon them by virtue of being born Belizeans and or Belizeans by nationality. Gentlemen,
Greg might be waiting. Greg might be
Not yet,
waiting,
not yet.
Leonard.
No,
Not
he's
yet,
not.
okay.
He's not there. So I'm going. Just
Good, yeah.
remind me every once in a while, not just so I know
Yes,
stay
sir.
inside of my head and what I'm trying to get out, no, and forget about
Yes,
him
Mr.
being there
Chairman,
for a
will
while.
do.
So thank you very much for. Anyhow, to the public listening to our program for tonight, I took the opportunity to listening to some of what was being presented, and I find what was being presented very much wanting and deficient. For someone who have that amount of knowledge, experience, and credentials behind him, to be allowing himself to be used as a hired gun on behalf of the government, to be misspeaking is a kind way of saying what I'm trying to say that he's doing. And he shouldn't be doing that, misspeaking, because by virtue of his credentials, everybody listening under his voice should be able to feel comfortable to know that he's someone of substance and knowledge, and whatever is coming out of his mouth comes from the knowledge and the input that he has acquired and know. rather than serving the interests of a particular skewed ideology that our present government is trying to foster on our population. And so the good gentleman went on to say, as part of his presentation, that we, the Belizean people, under the preamble, have our rights, which is correct at that point. And he went on to say, but those rights are subject to changes. If those are the inalienable rights, what are you going to emphasize as part of your teaching? The subjectivity of your rights not being inalienable and or permanent rights, because he's back. Let me add him before I continue. Okay, Greg.
Hello.
Yes, sir. We could hear you a little better now.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, we
Oh,
could hear
yes,
you.
Greg, yeah. Good, right?
Hello.
Yes.
Yes,
Hi.
Greg.
I
We didn't
can't
hear you.
hear nothing.
I could hear you. We could
Can't
hear
hear
you.
nothing.
Oh, you know the hear we?
I not
Well,
hear
I
nothing.
Check
well,
your
I
mic.
can hear you.
After
I can hear you.
Check your mic. I muted and unmuted your mic from my side, and something else is going on your side.
I not hear you guys at all.
I could hear you. I could hear what you. I
I
could
could
hear.
hear you, yeah. I
I
could hear you too,
Greg,
yeah.
Greg, I could hear
I'm
you.
a log out. You guys go ahead. I'm trying to solve it. Go ahead.
Yeah, because right
Okay.
now with the distract the program, and with
Go ahead, Leonard. Yeah.
we abuse the public at this point. Yeah. Okay. If those rights are fundamental and unalienable rights, at that, being born with it, and there are fundamental rights, the fact that the Constitution says that some of those rights can be suppressed or derogated should not be the main focus of any presentation when it comes to educating people about their fundamental rights. The issue of derogation of your rights should be explained to you, as well as the conditions under which the government can gain empowerment to derogate those rights. If you don't do that adequately enough, then you're misleading, misinforming, and allowing people to get the wrong impression, or to get the impression that most Belizean people, as of right now, not having read the Constitution themselves, have been believing that so long as our government goes to the House and make laws, even if they're anti-constitutional laws, that so long as the House makes it, it's a law, and they have the authority to change the Constitution and to make laws to govern the country. When you don't explain adequately or properly, or you misinform people or miseducate people, you leave them exposed to being bamboozled easily. And that is my problem with the presentation that is being done now by the President, Mr. Osher, and his committee. Because I listened to other members in the committee make statements that does not comport with the job that they're supposed to be doing, which is to go out there, interact with the public, inform the public, educate the public, solicit comments back from the public, so that they can take and give a report to the Prime Minister and Cabinet, for the Prime Minister and Cabinet to hash over and then decide what part they want to give to the House, for the House to vote on, for them to be able to have drafted constitutional reform, whether it's going to be the whole thing or just bits and pieces added on, which currently the government is empowered to do by themselves. They didn't need to launch a constitutional reform commission, as I keep repeating over and over. The bottom line is, if you're miseducating people or misinforming people, it's a travesty. You're doing more bad than good. Better you shut your mouth and let people just believe what they believe, because they never know better anyhow, than for you to misinform them under the guise of you as a competent, experienced, knowledgeable person providing them that information. One of the salient points that Mr. Usher brought up, for example, as his point of focus in the Corozal presentation, was that Unibam and Mr. Caleb Orozco had the court rule in their favor because they had a lot of money and support and top-notch lawyer that they were able to solicit their legal services from, to have and pull the Constitution and the preamble and found in the preamble words that were compatible with giving them those rights that the learned Supreme Court judge ruled on and said, yes, their rights are also in the preamble and in the Constitution. So therefore, they are entitled to it. But here, Mr. Usher would stipulate that there are only two constitutional rights that cannot be abridged by the government. And I presume one of those rights is the one that he's putting forward as the main point of educating the Belizean people about sodomy being under, I don't remember if it's 54 or 50, it's one of those sections that got revised and got modified because of the pressure that was brought down on our government from external forces. At the end of the day, my presumption, based on what I hear him articulate, is that he is using that Caleb Orozco case and the Unibom case as a tool to teach the rights of the people. In our Constitution, it speaks about law and order, and it speaks about, I need to bring back Gregory now. I'm trying to get him back, he's in the background. Okay. Greg, I hope that you can hear us now a little better. Can you hear
Greg?
He's there, but I'm not getting a response from him.
I can hear you, but very soft.
Okay, let me turn up my volume a little bit over here. I hope I don't blow up people there.
Sounds like I'm having audio problem, guys.
Yeah.
Just continue as you live. I'll try to solve it.
I'll raise my volume a little bit. I hope I'm not going to. Okay. I'm not going too far or too high because I'm not going to go from one extreme to the next. Okay. Back to the point that I was trying to stipulate earlier about the use of the Unibam case as the focus for the teaching effort, or the inclination to use the Unibam case as a way of convincing people that yes, in our preamble and in our Constitution, the rights of the Unibam people was found, and their rights are not supposed to be tampered with by the government. But yet you're going to teach the people that the government have the power to tamper with the rest of the civilians and population's right, but not Unibam right. Under the same Constitution and under the same preamble, where you found the Unibam right is where the rights of all of us other members of the society exist. So if you can find right for Unibam, to violate the laws of decency that we used to have in the country before that uniform case came up, and for which police could come and arrest you if you're out in public, or if they catch you buggering anybody or doing anything that was, contrary to good order or contrary to the laws of the society at that time, they would have arrested you. But now, with the Supreme Court ruling, they don't arrest those people anymore because they are entitled to the right of privacy and the right to their sexual behavior or whatever. But the government could come with a police force and bust in off your door, kick down your door, violate your privacy, which the very same Constitution says they're not supposed to do, ransack your house, go about their business and not say nobody if you come repair back your house or fix your house back. And that should be all right. The government should be able to issue a SOE, and under the authority of the SOE, abrogate people's basic civil rights. And that should be all right. What we espouse or teach or speak to on this particular show is contrary to those kind of behavior, because the Constitution does not allow for that type of outcome. So I would like to ask Mr. Usher, would he kindly revisit the way he's teaching what he's teaching and put it more in context with what the Constitution expects of him if he's going to be teaching the Constitution to anybody? That he can't be teaching it at high school and college and have all young people coming out being shortchanged in that kind of way. The same Constitution and the same preamble that allowed for Univan and Mr. Orozco to have their rights respected and to have those rights being declared as inalienable rights, and that the government cannot trespass on those rights, is the same Constitution that allows for us to expect the government to not trample on our constitutional rights as well. So I would like for him to revisit his notes, if he's using any notes for teaching, and revise them, or if he's just teaching out of his head, go back and think through what he's saying and contextualize it with what the Constitution really intends for him to be saying, rather than misinforming the people. Because this is not a play, this is not a game. When you're talking about revising your Constitution and teaching people one certain perspective that does not comport with what the Constitution currently stipulates, then you're misinforming and you're doing an injustice and you're creating confusion. When in fact, from what we know of Mr. Usher, or at least from what I know, the gentleman is supposed to be competent enough to make a better presentation than he's making, or a more appropriate or correct presentation than the misinformation that he's providing currently. It's not impossible for him to do better. All he needs to do is go back and review what is it that he's presenting. The program, the things that they are presenting are being recorded. All he has to do is take a few hours and go through those recordings and make sure that he's up to snuff. Tomorrow they're going to be having a meeting, and my cousin plans to be there. And I hope they let him have a chance to hold on to the mic and ask questions or make statements. Because it is only through that process that they are going to be put on the spot to be able to answer the hard question, rather than just giving people misinformation. Because the Unibomb case should not have been the major case that they would be using to teach people about the preamble and our rights, our fundamental rights at that. And I'm definitely sure that Mr. Osha would not contemplate or accept anybody telling him that the Unibam case, even though it was ruled on and they found that they have a right to their prerogative or their lifestyle, that anybody should want to take away that right from them after the court had ruled in their favor. I would like to believe that he would like to accord us those same rights, the rest of the general public, who may not be in agreement with that particular ruling or that type of lifestyle. All rights are also supposed to be respected by the government and everybody else. And that the rights that the preamble stipulates belong to all of us, including Mr. Caleb Orozco and the Unibam supporters. So don't come to the general public and teach them any nonsense about you have a right, but subject to, and a whole lot of other conditions being placed on those inalienable rights and those fundamental rights. Because those fundamental rights and inalienable rights can only be abrogated or tampered with superpower. That is that the power of the people and or the power of the of an SOE being signed by the Governor General, which means then that if the Governor General would like to sign an SOE stipulating then that the Unibam case is contrary to the law, or they want to make an SOE to stop all Unibam people from carrying on their conduct, that Mr. Osha or anybody else would entertain the idea that that SOE would be legal, that the police could go and arrest anybody that's indulged in that kind of lifestyle. They will be expecting all of us to jump along with them and agree with them that the police should not be doing that, and or that the Governor General should not be signing any such SOE, and that the ministers should not be putting any such SOE for the Governor General to sign, because that contravenes the Constitution. And of course, we would all, well, at least I would say, based on the ruling of the court, that that would be true. But it goes two ways, or both ways. So would I like the support of Mr. Osha and Unibam and everybody else, and Caleb Orozco, who is on the Constitution Reform Commission, or the PCC. How the hell he get there? What power and authority got him there on that commission for him to espouse his rights, or to make sure that they don't trample on his rights when they write up the next constitution, or they modify it, or whatever it is that they want? And the Creole people couldn't have a representation on there to make sure that the black people's rights and interests were being looked at. The Prime Minister said we are a minority. Are we less of a minority than Caleb Orozco and his colleagues, or the Unibam group? So how the hell he could get to put them onto the commission, and he couldn't put some of the Belize people that were asking, born Belize people, as Creole, members of the Creole ethnicity, who wanted to be on that commission, to make sure that their interest was being looked after? Why did we have to be pushed aside and be ostracized or be played down and be disrespected? But again, I say, Mr. Osha, if you don't understand where the assessor, just listen to the tape over again. The tape that you produce, your information will share with the public when you go and make a presentation. This tape here, where I'm making this complaint to you about what I have noticed that you're doing wrong, and check your constitution, and I'm almost certain you will be agreeing with me that you need to moderate and modify the contents of the material you're presenting to the general public, because misinformation is not going to help. Skewing your presentation to a uniform perspective is not helpful. The man then don't find any rights or their rights have already been upheld and ruled upon. And we don't need for you to imply that that might be one of the two rights that you're stipulating are not violable. Because I'm quite sure that under the preamble and under section 1, section 3, 219, you're going to find a lot more to be spoken of there or to teach the people about other than just about UNIBAM. I hope nobody think that I'm conflating or exaggerating or just trying to whip up on UNIBAM. No, I didn't brought the topic up. He, Mr. Usher, presented it as a part of his focus on in the Coruscant presentation. And all I'm doing right now is to point out to him and hoping that he would change his approach and the content of what he's teaching. Those matters are already settled as far as UNIBAM and Coruscant are concerned. There's no need for him to be advocating that or using that as the focus to teach everybody else about their human rights, because we're not all into that lifestyle. And as I just said, there are much more other vested rights in the preamble and in section 3 of the Constitution, inclusive through section 19 of the Constitution. So just like how under section 20, under judicial review, his rights was found and upheld, the rest of our rights can be found and be upheld as well. So don't come telling the public that yes, those rights are fundamental rights, but they're only fundamental as far as certain conditions. And those certain conditions is that the government could arbitrarily and capriciously derogate them or take them away from you or suppress them, because that's not true either. There's a high burden that the government have to prove and a high bar that the government have to jump over in order to get to the point where the government will be able to take away or suppress your constitutionally imbued rights and your God-given rights that you were born with to start with. For right now, I'll just leave it at that, and I'll give it over to Greg if you have something to contribute on that point, Greg.
Thank you for your presentation. I think the gentleman is mixed up when it comes to right. Because when he talks about right can be taken away, that can only be done under Section 18 and a proclamation by the GG.
Mm-hmm.
But if he wants to speak about rights, everybody has their fundamental rights intact in the Constitution, whether he like it or not. What he's not speaking about is your moral and social duty to society and the community, meaning that because we live in a civil world with civil laws, you don't want to make noise to hamper your neighbor. You don't want to curse in public. Some people don't like that. That's what you call moral and social duty. You know what else come under that? Moral and social duty to assist the policeman. If they stop you and they want to have a consensual conversation with you, you can do that. But there is no legal binding law that says you have to do that. You can walk away. So I want the people at home and abroad to understand this, because your fundamental rights is intact. This is the said reason why the government of Belize is coming to you with constitution reform because he knows he cannot touch your fundamental rights. It has been there since 1981. The drafters of the Constitution draft the Constitution, and your rights cannot be written out of existence. The government and his ministers, they know that. But they are coming with this bogus trickery, talking about having these third party and town house meetings to let them teach you about your fundamental right. Look, no other government except this one has ever came with that. So read between the lines. And I've said it just last night. I've said it. You have to watch what these people are doing. What good is it to teach the people about your fundamental rights when you have a government who is asking your opinion on what you would like removed from the Constitution or what you would like to input? Meaning, if you are teaching about fundamental rights, that can change. So what good will it be? Huh? That's some crazy, crazy action, as we can see today with what happened in the House. Why bring in the 11th Amendment when you have a PCC going on? When, if you ask the people, they can simply say, remove that from there. We don't want that. We want it to remain if you serve a year in Belize. We not worrying about the outside world, may it be America, Chetumal, wherever. That can be simply changed. So why do that? I'm telling you why. I have talked to you guys that are my virtual hosts. I have mentioned to the public at home and abroad on more than one occasion about executive power. This is what is happening because even after the Prime Minister came out of the House and was asked about this, you know what he said? When the reporter asked him about, but you have a PCC going on right now, you know what he says? He will go and talk to them. Right there, that is telling you executive power. He knows what he's trying to do, and come hell and high water, he wants to do it. But what he's not doing, instead of fooling around with the 11th Amendment, he should have been stop violating the rights of the people in the diaspora by working on the 7th Amendment that is boxing out those people to come home and rightfully vote, which is their given rights as citizens of Belize, not foreigners that come and get citizens through amnesty, born and grow here. That is what he should work on. And let me also say this. If you guys remember the Civil Assets and Unexplained Wealth Bill, you heard the foreign minister said they only going back 12 years. Why you think they didn't want to make it retroactive? You know why? Because Superbond, $12 million, the Port of Belize, the airport, and I can continue, would come up.
The hospital.
And I'm saying this for a reason. Because now that you are coming with this 11th Amendment, it should not bother the leader of the opposition, none at all. Because if this bill go through, it will be way beyond when he became the leader of the opposition. So it is not retroactive, and it should not be retroactive to offend him in the same way they do not want to go back 12 years.
Greg?
In other words, what I'm saying, the bill should move forward from today and anybody who is caught up in it, then they can put that into motion. But not presently the leader of the opposition. Go ahead.
One little point. Why they are trying to mess with this 11th Amendment, the reason why they started in the first place, and the reason why they're still persisting in wanting to go back to it again, is for the same reason. They just want to get shine out of their face. Trying to create some mischief for the leader of the opposition. But normally, in the construction of or writing of laws, most courts, internationally I'm talking about now, do not take it kindly or look lightly upon legislators that try to make laws that contemplate punishing people for actions that were done before those laws was in place. Because there's a general principle that says that you cannot create a law for an offense that was committed before the law was created and then attempt to apply that law
to use it retroactively.
It's not accepted in general law cases. Most of those situations.
No, I thank you for that. If you go back to 2019, who was in power in Belize?
The UDP.
The blue, right?
No, 2019 was the UDP.
UDP.
Blue came in 2020. November 11th.
No, have me an excuse. Have me an excuse. What I was referring to, right? If you go back to the 12 years, you will see that it's pointed at the past government as well as this 11th amendment, pointed at the present leader of the opposition, who is a part of the past party. He's the head now. But you know what is so funny about this? And I can say this, right? The Prime Minister of Belize is willing to use executive power and violate the constitution of other foreign entity who wants to do their port in favor of a port, as in Port Magic, with guys who have no financial background. In pool room, we call it dead race. You are willing to put aside investors who financially is stable enough to finish their business for some other people who do not have the experience, never did that, and do not have the finance. Mr. Wade.
My brothers, we have educated the public, since this committee came about, in terms of this committee that the People's United Party had put together to take to the Belizean people that message, right? But as the way I see, the whole thing, and we talked about it before, right, is that, it's not goodwill. They're not doing it with goodwill, with open, with a clean heart, with love, that, love of country and love of people, and this is what we need to do. No, it's a trickery, right? And we've been saying it. How is it that they are lying, because you hear it today, that the mission that this committee was to be, that has the mission that they had embarked on, what they should have been doing, they are not doing it. They should be going to the public and get a feedback as to what they want to put in and what they want to take out, what is good for them and what is not good for them. That's what I understand today, again, in the house today. But no, the mission they have embarked on right now is to educate the people on their fundamental rights. Right? Now, how I'll use your word, Greg, ludicrous. What? Go ahead, Leonard.
Mr. Wade, I heard you use the word educate just now when you refer to what they're trying to do. And I just wanted to object to that out of, facetiousness, right? In saying that they're not educating, they're miseducating people, And I just wanted to throw that on your back while you was carrying the load.
I will take it a little further. How can you want to educate when you can't even read a legal opinion?
Hello?
To see what it means.
Hello?
There you go.
You want to educate and you can't even make understanding of what a legal opinion means. Go ahead, Mr. Wade.
Guys, no. Aren't these people, don't they get it?
Something is wrong.
Aren't these people so stupid, right? That the message, guys, that they are taking to these town halls. And yet, today you hear that, everybody will be educated on the Constitution. Right? You the word again, everybody. And they know damn well their intention. Huh? And you and I know, guys, that everybody will not be educated on what they want to educate the people on, according to them, right? But my thing is, another lie to the Belizean people, broad-faced lie, because they have an agenda and because what they want to push through, they come up with this bogus narrative about educating the people, right? About their constitution, about their rights, right? Their God-given rights, right? No, that's not happening, right? Because at the end of the day, like you guys says, they are false education and it's all about false narrative, right? They're putting in false information out there because that's not really what they want to do. So are they helping? Are they helping the people? Hell no, they're not. They're just making things worse, right? So they are supposed to go back now with what? To the Belizean administration after they had concluded their so-called educational venture, right? What will they take back? Right? Falsehood, right? Because that's not what Belizean and his administration want to hear, or that's not what they will do. They will not use that information that they will bring back. No, they have their own agenda. But like you said, Greg, that they use consultation as a yes for them to do what they want to do, right? And that is exactly what will happen. They will paste the news, they will paste the media, they will paste the world that yes, they have consulted the people, right? They have consulted, and this is, this is what, the end result. They will end up doing what they want to do anyway, right? Just like what happened today. They will do what they want to do anyway, right? You see the super majority, you see all of them tag along and voted, right? And they know damn well what they did was wrong, right? And they know damn well their mission, and they know damn well why they did that, right? Today in the House, right? Today, to the leader of the opposition. I applaud him for spitting out some of the ills of the Briceño administration. I applaud him. That is what they should be doing. But using all that, they say, okay, well, then you're against UNCAC. Now they brought in UNCAC, like they, and not to mention, they said like they had enacted UNCAC, right? Which is a damn lie, right? Right? That's what, and that's already went out there. Oh yes, they are fanatics now. Will say, oh yes, you hear them, they don't enact UNCAC. That's the message they want to send. When they know damn well they have.
The man in the
Man, these guys.
Mr. Wade.
Greg, give me a shot. Give me a shot, Greg. Mr. Wade, the man in the try play marbles with hot quayans. And they get their fingers burned.
Mr. Wade, the young man said, the young man asked, what is wrong with you? You don't want to stop corruption? This is a farmer UNCAC right here. I was laughing.
I did too. That's why I brought that up. These guys are stupid.
Do you remember what I said on past platform? When these ministers speak, listen to them, because they will be telling on themselves. You know why I was laughing? I will tell you why. They can stay on the other side of that aisle, and they can make the leader of the opposition look any kind of way they want. It does not matter, because in reality, with all that they are doing, even with the 11th Amendment, you know what is happening? It still does not stop them from facing what? A Senate inquiry. Why didn't they go after the 4 business senators like that? Huh? You know why? Because they cannot. What did the thing say? For what? What's your word? Corruption. So regardless of what they want to throw there for side effect, man, you will have a Senate inquiry for what? Corruption. And it's not saying one, the government of Belize will face a Senate inquiry for corruption. Period.
Before I turn it over back to you, Mr. Chairman, right? Let me just say this. We said yesterday, and I said yesterday, that I wanted to see which one of these area representatives that representing this country and people had the balls and the guts to speak truth and stand up to Johnny Briceño, the Prime Minister of this country, right, today. None of them. None of them, although they knew what really entails and they knew the magnitude of the treachery, they knew the magnitude of the lies, they knew the magnitude of the trickery, and they knew the magnitude of the corruption. They all know, but none of them have the balls nor the guts to tell Johnny Briceño what the hell he's doing wrong to this country and its people. None of them. See what they did? Like little ducks right behind. They follow. They all supported that man, knowing well that they are doing something wrong. How do these idiots sleep at night? How do they? When we have intelligent people out here too, who listens to them, who watches them, who love this country and who love the people. And they should be silent. We should be silent. Hell no. We will keep calling them out because it's blatant out there right in front of our eyes to see their behavior, right? Which is so not right by people and nation. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Greg, go ahead. Thank you, Mr. Wade.
Mr. Wade, and you know what is so wrong about this? They're not only trying to box the leader of the opposition out, they have already boxed about 7,000 Belizean abroad that can't take part in an election, who they keep running to with their hands out for support when they have an issue. Now, if I was living abroad, I would run them. I wouldn't want to hear nothing from them because you see what they are trying to do. You see what they are trying to do. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, sir. I just wanted to read a little piece of thing here that speaks about the basic structure doctrine. The basic structure, by the way, this is not the first time that I'm reading this particular writing or citing this particular piece of a case. I've done it quite a few times before, and I'm doing that because there's a purpose and a method to my madness. I'm hoping that this information will resonate with some people. They will hear it maybe a second or third or fourth time. They will grasp the depth and significance of what it's all about, and they will be a better Belizean for having heard it. I'll read it. The basic structure doctrine holds that the fundamental principles of the preamble of the Constitution have to be preserved for all times to come, and that they cannot be amended out of existence. As I see it, said the judge, fundamental rights in a constitution are inherent and cannot be extinguished by constitutional or statutory provisions, and any law that derogates or extinguishes such rights would be violative of the basic structure doctrine and the Constitution itself. The judge went on to say, under item number 54, found on page 53 of her ruling, the submission that the National Assembly of Belize can, subject to the limitations contained in section 69, subsection 2 and subsection 3 and 4 of the Constitution, that they can make just about any law or any changes to the Constitution would seem uh, just a second, as shown above, would be to ignore the intention of the makers of the Constitution and propound in its as propounded in its preamble. So I read the first part about the preamble, and then I read another part here where she's expounding and saying that to ignore what the Constitution is saying and for them to make just about any law just because they have the power to do it under Section 69 does not necessarily square with the reality of what the Constitution expects. Because the government, even if they had all 31 members of Congress from both parties joining up together to make an unconstitutional law, that would not mean that that law is constitutional. It does not become constitutional on the basis of how much numbers of the representative vote for it, but whether or not it is legally structured within the bounds of the Constitution, which then allows it to be constitutional. So they can make all the laws they want, which is why we have been ending up with so many cases being lost by our government, right, left, and center. Look how much cases Mr. Ashcroft win against the government. Look how many different cases recently the government have lost by people who sue them. Too many cases. And none of the government officials or ministers are the ones whose bank book is feeling it or whose assets are being dispossessed to pay for the cost of the craziness that they're doing with our country. The present Prime Minister is bamboozling his cabinet. And his cabinet, as a group, is walking lockstep with him and declaring that they have full support of him, as Mr. Fonseca said a couple of days ago. They have all the confidence in the Prime Minister, and they are going to back him. I presume he was intimating as well, back him with the Portico Agreement, which is what all the fussing is about in the country. And they are trying to provide cover for him. No, he's just come back off of discussing the political issues, but he didn't tell them all of what they need to know to realize that they shouldn't vote in his favor. He told them what he think they want to hear in order to get them, enough of them to agree with him, so he could get that matter out of cabinet and take it to the House where he has a substantive majority of backbenchers that go arbitrarily and capriciously vote for whatever he puts out there. So he is in a position to have us put our barrel right now. And all these guys will just follow him like rats to the tune of the piper.
Mr. Chairman, can I
Go ahead,
interject
sir.
a little bit?
Yes,
Can you
sir.
give me 2 minutes? Give me
Yes,
2
sir.
minutes.
No, go ahead, sir.
It is my belief, right, that, you know, I have noticed lately within the past 10, 12 years, right, that, you know, the interference with our Constitution. I've noticed that laws that they are making, which, you know, I noticed a pattern, and I noticed that it is my belief then that the reason why these people are doing it, the People's United Party and past government, is because the geography of Belize is changing, right? Now, some might not like what I'm saying, and some might could residue with what I'm saying. Us, Pan Belizean, we are no more, you know. The people that are filling our space do not care what these people are doing to our Constitution. They do not care. All they want is a little farmland. They want amnesty. They want Belizean citizenship. And to hell with. They do not notice. They are not noticing, and they do not care what these lawmakers, so-called lawmakers, are doing. So they are glad. These lawmakers, they're glad that they are not much like you, me, Gregory. They are glad that they are the Belizean are leaving this country. You don't hear the minister, well, the area representative for Lake Eye, he talking about a new identity. You hear? And that word shocked me coming from that guy. Right? No, I'm talking, you know, Mr. Wade, you talk on bull, right? But like I say, these people, my brothers, they will get what they want because they know that what they're up against is only the people that are migrating in this country, and they know that they have no position to push through their mission to get to be the president of this country and get Belize to be a republic. Okay? Like I stated before, that they have no position because the people that are influxing and taking our space do not give a hoot what now the Briseno administration is doing to our constitution. Say no more.
Mr.
Back to
Wade,
you, Mr.
Mr. Wade,
And I could
I
break
will
it down
say
into
to you
smaller
like
change,
this.
you know, but I leave that like that for now.
Mr. Wade, I will say to you like this. If a referendum was held today, they would lose it. If the question was asked to the Belizean public, would you like to turn Belize into a republic? They would lose it
No,
outright.
no.
I beg to
Believe me
I
what
beg
I'm saying.
I beg to differ
Believe
on
me
that,
what
you know,
I'm saying.
Greg. I beg to differ on that based on the influx, based on the people that they are going to
I
give
understand
Belizean
what you are
citizenship,
saying.
and I say yes, that these people do not give a hoot. Where do these people come
I
from?
understand what you are saying. But at the end of the day, what he's trying to do falls under the Referendum Act, and there's no way around it. He must have a referendum. You see, if you recall, right, you
I
heard me
understand
talk
that, Greg.
about turning.
Greg, I understand that he must hold a referendum to push through what he wants. But what I'm trying to say,
Right.
the votes that they will get for yes, you'll be surprised, right? Because of what
If
I
you
just, you
recall,
understand what I'm saying, right?
yes, I understand. If you
There are only a little
recall,
bit of us, you
more
know,
than one,
like me, you, and
and
Leonard. There's only a little bit of us.
yeah, if you recall, on more than one occasion, I speak about turning Belizean into sovereign citizen. You know why? You see what he can do with his majority, right? His super majority. You see how he used that on the 11th Amendment? He can't do that on the fundamental rights. There's a bridge.
Greg,
The
you see
basic
all these
structure.
villages,
The
Greg and Leonard, you
basic
see,
structure.
Greg and Leonard, you see all these
Uh-huh.
villages that are popping up in the length and breadth of this country? Do you know who live in these villages? Okay.
But
You understand
as
what
I
I'm
was
you
saying,
you hear what I'm saying, right?
yes, yes, but I was saying he can use his super majority that he has, like we have been saying, to create any laws. But there's one thing he cannot touch: the basic structure of the Constitution. Section 1 and Section 2. So the only remedy to that is to come to the people. You know, come to the people using trickery,
The way
trying to
these
trick
guys
the
are
people,
going,
These
Mr.
trying to
Chairman,
trick them.
gentlemen remember how many referendums have been stamped out recently?
that's my point.
How many referendums have been stamped out?
My point, Mr. Chairman
These
and
guys don't
Gregory.
follow rules.
I know about
Okay,
the
you said it.
marijuana one. I can't recall if there was one under Oceana,
Still going.
but I
Still
know there was some votes.
there was one
The
first and there's a
marijuana
second one.
one, they will get what they want in a different road. They will go down a different road to get what they want.
Yeah, he mentioned it.
Okay.
As I said, they always saying it. You know,
This
he wants to
guy,
use regulation. Regulation
this
is the same
Briseño,
as legalizing.
I'm getting a little feisty now, right? You know, guys, no get
Go ahead,
upset with me.
man. Go ahead.
This guy, Johnny Briseño, he already know, right, that majority of Belizean don't catch on to chicory. So he don't give a hoot right now. This man is a big man. You know, he consider himself big and mighty. And he willing to take that chance. That guy is willing to take that chance and put that fire. I'm telling you, he will not care what the committee bring back to him. No, he will go ahead and turn this country into a republic, and he will change the constitution. The same guy, right? So, what you think the only next thing that may end up happen, right? But this guy don't care, and he is afraid of no one, you know, because of that super majority he has, right? Say no more.
Mr. Weir,
Go ahead,
I
Mr. Chairman.
believe, Mr. Chairman,
Republic.
I believe.
Wait. I just want to turn up something else here right now. That I want to
The amendments have to do with terms of imprisonment for crimes or for actions that are serious, Madam Speaker. Violent crime.
These guys are hell bent.
The calls for reducing violent crime in our country. Yet, we would allow somebody with a criminal conviction in the past to sit in this honorable house. Crimes of moral turpitude, actions of moral turpitude. We're talking about actions that have gravely violated the accepted standards of the Belizean community. We agreed to go to the People's Constitution Commission so that we can have a bipartisan evaluation of our Constitution, which is there to protect rights, not take away rights. For 43 years, our Constitution protected the right of members of society to participate in all forms of our democracy. How? Who is calling for this? Which social partner is calling for this? Who is driving this? What remedy are you trying to prescribe here? What societal ill, what threat to our national security is happening here? Nothing. This is political targeting. This is weaponization of the Constitution. It is a dark day for Belize. And your bilateral partners are watching. You can't take away rights. You can't do that. And that will fail in the court. So I have no doubt or no concern, Madam Speaker. But it has to be highlighted for the Belizean people to see what a fascist government they have, Madam Speaker. Where this government thinks that they are smarter and wiser than our forebears. who drafted the amendment specifically to deal with a problem that would arise if someone got elected and they were serving a sentence. Then they could not come to this honorable house, they could not go into their constituencies. But our forebears did not contemplate penalizing members of our society for past transgressions. Because I have done no crime in Belize. I committed one crime in my entire life, 25 years ago, which is a reckless assault. So you want to talk about Mr. Caleb? My crime in the United States is punishable by a fine here in Belize, sir. So what you're trying to accomplish is going to fail on so many fronts, just making yourself look bad. You know why I frighten you? Because I represent the outsider. I represent the people that you have forgotten, the people that you have dismissed. You claim that for 13 years the UDP did that, and you came in and did the same thing. Referee Jaden Roller. The amendment.
And you know what, Mr. Chairman? He's right, you know. That's why they throw that out there.
Greg, a little bit more. Greg, a little bit more.
Fail.
Go ahead.
That has already been rejected by his own ministers.
It's the worst document I have ever seen.
It should be.
Julius Spot, the worst document you have ever seen.
If the cabinet approves it, then it will go to the House for it to be passed on into law.
It may be that whatever we come up with, that whatever we think at cabinet is acceptable to the Belizean people, it may not be. And if it's not, then it's not our job to ram things down the throat of the Belizean people.
That's Deputy Prime Minister Cordell Hyde.
It is ethically wrong, and from what I am hearing, it can even be legally wrong. But we're doing a disservice to Belize, I believe.
As Minister of Finance, he refuses to reduce the high taxes on fuel, resulting in skyrocketing cost of living.
You're gonna go to shop. Can you imagine, Mr. Prime Minister, 50 cents for egg?
And causing Belizean businesses to close down.
This is not a government that provides an environment for which a business can thrive. And so they have to close down.
As chairman of the National Security Council, he and his police minister have failed to reverse the escalation of crime and deterioration in citizen security.
He is failing, Madam Speaker. He is failing.
As the man who heads cabinet, he has failed to ensure that his Minister of Health provides essential support to the KHMH and other public hospitals to equip them to provide basic health care for the people of Belize.
These are all things that we had beat, Mr. Chairman. We had beat all these things months ago,
that prove
and we keep beating it.
Prime Minister,
right?
John Briceño has lost his way, has lost his mandate, has lost the confidence of the Belizean people.
Now, therefore, be it resolved.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, I have to really talk about the great Willie Mandela and his accomplishment even after he went to prison. Mm-hmm. He came out and became a great leader. So one going to prison does not stop them from being able to participate or run a country. And I'm not saying this because of Mr. Barrow, because when I speak about the wrongs of both parties, past and present government. But what I'm speaking about is our constitution, the same one that we have presently today, that I believe should remain intact and should not be written out of existence, as was drafted by our forefathers. I will leave it at that.
The Mr. Chairman,
right,
the Hugo Pat guy brought up the terrorists, right? He talked about the terrorists. Very good presentation he presented about the terrorists, right? Compare that to what they're trying to do with Shine Barrow. Right. Compare that. No.
You see, Mr. Weird. Shine not getting no money, but the terrorists bring money in where they could get access to.
Yes. 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 Now, the Shabbat guy, he talk about a clown. Right? He talk about a clown who moves into a palace, and the palace becomes a circus. He showed that to Shine, you know. A clown moving into a palace. And that clown turned the palace into a circus. Now you listen to these guys. Huh? But none of them takes any fault, you know. They're all squeaky clean. He should have said why he was moved from the Ministry of Health. Right? You understand what I'm saying?
Gregory, you remember why he was moved?
You understand what I'm saying?
Unconstitutional exercise, right?
Right.
You understand? On all the bogus, on all the bogus certificates, vaccination certificate that was circling, right? You know, he should have said, Shan Barrow should have asked him, sir, why don't you tell the nation and remind the nation, because half the nation know, only the fanatics do not know why he was removed. And then he want to talk about a clown moving into a palace. He's the damn clown.
We're getting close to our cut-off time. So before we get there, I just want to read this next little part, channel. And maybe this might be my closing for all. Yeah, this might be my closing for. No, I want to close tonight with going back to Michelle Osha. But let me read this little piece. I think I will try. It is taken for granted that the basic principles of separation of powers will apply to the exercise of their respective functions by the three organs of government: the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. There is no doubt that the doctrine of separation of powers is a basic or fundamental part of the Constitution of Belize. Go ahead, Mr. Brackett. Gregory Brackett. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I believe that the present government is being sued so much. That is why they want to do constitution reform. I believe that they want to really take away the fundamental rights from the people. And I believe that he's willing to use executive power. But I also need to say this, because most people sometimes don't read or they don't listen. The same attorney who he has sent the definitive agreement for a legal opinion, do you know who he's representing now? He is representing the Ashcroft regime. And if they are going to sue, he's the one who will represent them.
You said if just now? Did I hear you by your saying
I said if.
I know, I'm just teasing.
I said if. I want to use the word if as a conjunction as to say, please, 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 drop that DA and start something new. You know, I believe if you want to do the right thing and you are hell-bent on it, do the right process as in the Constitution. You should have come to us with a plebiscite, get our input, listen to what the people said through the plebiscite, then you come about teaching the people about their fundamental rights, and you go from there. Just a simple plebiscite would have tell you if the people would agree to change the constitution. But when you want to use executive power and bring it into law as though the people gave you a mandate, you are simply taking up that mandate on yourself to do that,
Very much so.
because that is what you are doing. You are mandating yourself to say you must fulfill this. Nobody came to you with that. Likewise, nobody came to you asking you to remove the queen head from the currency.
Part of the bamboozling
You the
process.
one coming with all that. You the one coming with all that in the name of repatriation and getting away from our slave ancestors, as the deputy prime minister said. We need a new identity. But let me say this. When you came from your mother came from her family, and you will not lose that tie through DNA. So if we came from slaves from Africa, regardless if we become republic or not, we will still carry the ties of Africa. So
Greg,
that new identity that he's speaking
will
about,
you
please.
speak for another couple of minutes as a closing?
Yes,
And then give us
the new identity that
for his
he's
closing.
speaking about, the new identity that he's speaking about is enshrined in our blood from our ancestors, like the fundamental rights is enshrined in the Constitution by the drafters, who made a stipulation and made it clear it cannot be what? Written out of existence. Likewise, regardless of where you go to live, any part of the world, you are descendants of slaves. So looking for a new identity will not change the fact, Mr. Wade. Go ahead.
You're so right on that, my brother. It's always a pleasure to be in your company, yourself and Leonard, right? It's always a pleasure. And my closing is that, my people, take heed, need to take heed. From this government took office, I'm not talking about the past government, as we know what they did. We had lived it. But since this government took office, all they do is bleed the coffers of this country. Have they made life, again I would say, have they made life better for the Belizean people? No, they have not. Are they doing right by people and nation? No, they are not. Right? And we see the self-greed. We see the constant abuse of the Constitution. Right? With and the whole no apology. Every time they go to the house is to bleed the coffers. Right? The only good thing that happened today, and this is something that this Gianni Briceño had said 3 months ago, women's sanitary product. Just okay today. And he lied 3 months ago. He lied. Like on so many other things. So, out of the 2.5 years of this PUP government, he gave back to the women of this country duty. You don't pay any taxes on your feminine product. Wow. I give him a big, and you feel like you are the king. Right? You should be ashamed of yourself along with the minister that has that portfolio for women. Right? So on that note, take heed. Nothing these people venom out in the house will be good for the Belizean people. Nothing. They will left us with, a big bill, and they will ride off in the sunset. Richer than how they came in. And where will they leave you, the Belizean people? Like government before, they'll do the same damn thing that they did. This government will do the same thing and ride off in the sunset. I call for them to stop lying to the Belizean people and that notion that they have enacted UNCAC. My Belizean people, they have not touched it. They're afraid of it. On that note, I want to say good night to you guys and good night to the Belizean people, both at home and abroad. Take heed.
Likewise, my
Thank you, Mr.
my
Wade.
battery power is dying on me, guys. So
Yeah. Okay. Let me make it quick. I want to touch on today's House meeting where Mr. Fonseca get up and say that the amount of money we can borrow amount to about $400 million. We had been saying on this show that we think that they're above 700 million, and then today they come add
It's more.
almost another 100 million.
It's more than that.
Which
they
would have been
are
like 800
over
million.
$900 million.
But
They will soon hit the beat.
Greg, the difference is that you talking, I believe, is money. I don't want to give him the benefit of doubt in believing that he was stipulating, like Mr. Ashcroft did, that the actually American dollars and the talk about them borrow, which amounts to the same, 2 for 1, 400 million American, that 800 million Belize. So we are all correct if we give them the benefit of the doubt. But if we don't give them the benefit of the doubt,
Where is the money?
we know that they're lying, which they always do. They lie and they conflate.
Where is the money?
You know,
Well,
I said
I
something,
was-
right?
Yeah, go ahead.
I said by the end of their term,
Mhm.
Belize will be in a deficit of $6 billion plus, and we're getting close to going to that figure.
Okay.
Really close.
I need to close.
Go ahead,
down.
Mr. Chairman.
I wanted to close by
Yes, go ahead before my power die.
going after Mr. Osha, because I don't want to take too long. The good gentleman, as smart as he is, as competent and capable as he is, and as interested as he is in the effort to try and educate the people, needs to reassess what he's using for education and stop conflate and stop derogate and stop mislead, because I don't want to accuse him of lying, because I think the gentleman is solid enough to know better. So all I wish to ask of him, if you can convey this information to him tomorrow, Greg, when you go, if they give you the mic, to please, as a minimum, revisit what he has been teaching and see if he could clean it up and leave it. Okay? Because the Unibam case and the Unibam issue as a settled law is not what he should be teaching the people when it comes to who he believes people's constitutional rights and the non-derogation thereof. That's my closing.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Well,
Thanks for a good show again.
good night.
Thanks for the public for tuning in and listening to us bubbling in their ears and trying to make some sense out of nonsense, but hopefully something will resonate.
Right.
They'll be a bit better off today than they were before.
Good
Good night,
night.
sir.
Well, guys, my power is dying, so I have to leave you guys, and we'll get back and